I have never experienced anything close to the hate that has been reaped upon me this time.
That is American University professor Allan Lichtman on his prediction that Kamala Harris will beat Donald Trump. Decades ago, Lichtman developed a set of political science keys that have led him to correctly predict 9 of the last 10 presidential outcomes. Just days before the 2024 election, Lichtman is standing by Harris, and MAGA world is lashing out.
I've been getting feedback that is scurrilous, vulgar, violent, threatening, and even beyond that, the safety and security of my family has been compromised. We've had to notify the police. We've had to take very strong preventive measures.
To be clear, Lichtman has predicted Republicans as the presidential winners before.
First of all, my predictions are totally nonpartisan. I predicted the 2 most conservative presidents of our time, Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump, along with liberals like Barack Obama. And believe me, predicting Trump did not make me very popular in 90% plus Democratic DC.
But predicting Donald Trump is going to lose this year in 2024 has triggered the MAGA psychopaths. So Dr. Allan Lichtman now needs police protecting his home. It underscores just how unhinged the MAGA movement has become. Think about it. Merely by doing an academic exercise, publishing his work, and talking about it on TV, Allan Lichtman has received death threats. The phenomenon establishes once again that Donald Trump and his followers cannot handle outcomes they do not like or even predictions they do not like. But here is something that will drive MAGA world even nuttier. Separate from Professor Lichtman, there are now more predictions and indications that Kamala Harris is going to beat Donald Trump. Headline, The New Republic, Trump gets shocking news from double whammy on poll results. Donald Trump's internal polling isn't looking so great.
I honestly think their internals are actually giving them pause, because I think they're seeing even more. Look, they do have a lot of resources for polling, more than public media companies have, and they're probably seeing the same things that you guys are talking about, which is that there is real groundswell in the early vote. There is real enthusiasm, which is hard to measure. I have heard from Republicans that there is concern at the Trump campaign amongst the operatives that actually really do know the political wherewithal.
The political wherewithal right now is being driven in part by early voting. The numbers are already setting early voting records, and there's now every indication that overall voter participation will exceed that of 2020 and 2016.
So let's just say turnout is above what it was in 2020 in these swing states. That is not a good thing for the Trump campaign. North Carolina specifically, we've been tracking it in our data on where he can still win despite having a super high turnout. So if it is 2020 turnout, Trump wins Georgia and North Carolina. If it's 5% higher than 2020, Trump can still win. But if it eclipses that, it's when we start to get in the territory where these new registered voters that are coming out are not going to be traditional Trump voters, and it could sway the election.
And in Georgia and North Carolina, the new voters are exceeding expectations. Those swing states, if they go to Kamala Harris, would almost guarantee her a victory in the Electoral College. There is another factor that has Republicans concerned. According to early voting data, women comprise 55% of the 2024 electorate. This is a percentage point or 2 more than the usual gender divide in a presidential election year. For several elections, women have been the voting majority, but their share in 2024 is higher than ever. Harris is leading Trump by double digits among women voters, and an electorate that relies more on women than the pre-election polling models indicated would mean those polls were off, and Harris is going to beat expectations. Donald Trump has been warned that he trails badly among women voters. So in Wisconsin, after a photo op with a garbage truck and while still wearing a trash collection uniform, Trump promoted himself as a protector of women, despite campaign staff warning him that message is condescending.
They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect them from migrants coming in. I'm going to protect them from foreign countries that want to hit us with missiles and lots of other things.
Trump is going to do it whether women like it or not. Where have we heard that before? Oh, right. The claims by multiple women that Trump sexually assaulted them. Trump's pledge to do things whether women like it or not is creepy. Adding to Trump's problems with women, 2 years ago, his Supreme Court justices rolled back federal reproductive rights. Since then, Democrats have exceeded pre-election polls in every campaign outcome, and every Republican state ballot initiative against abortion, even in Republican states, has been defeated. Republican women keep making the difference, voting against their husbands and against the GOP. The anti-Trump Lincoln Project highlighted this phenomena and the opportunity in a recent ad.
Still voting for him?
Hell yeah.
What about your wife?
She doesn't like him, but she's voting for him.
Same with mine.
According to all of the polling and data, the number one issue in this election is the economy. Donald Trump, given his wealth and self-proclaimed success as a real estate mogul, has led Harris in most surveys on the economy. But Harris has rolled out a string of popular economic plans. More importantly, as Professor Allan Lichtman points out, economic indicators favor the incumbent administration and boost Kamala Harris.
Very quantitative. The short-term economic key says there's no recession in the election year, which there isn't. The long-term economy key says real per capita growth, which takes into account inflation during the term, has to be at least equal or greater than the average of the previous two terms, which includes Trump, and the Biden average is twice. It's not what I think. These keys not only have been predictive for 40 years, but developmentally, they go all the way back to 1860.
In other words, the political science theories about voting trends are robust and have stood the test of time. Clearly, MAGA faithful do not want to hear any of this. They only want one outcome, a Donald Trump victory, and even predictions of a Kamala Harris victory are sparking uncontrollable MAGA rage. Well, one can only hope the MAGA fans get some emotional help the next few weeks. Because in my view, Allan Lichtman is spot on. Kamala Harris is going to win this election. And even if I had any doubts, I would take Professor Lichtman's analysis any day over the unscientific Republican paid-for polls that claim Trump is winning. When all is said and done, I think the evidence and the voting results will be clear that Donald Trump has lost yet again. Kamala Harris will be the next president of the United States. And to the MAGA faithful and Trump minions, I'll say this. Don't go away angry. Just go away. By the way, a MAGA teen in Florida has been arrested for waving a weapon and threatening Democratic voters.
To say your piece is your First Amendment protected right, but that goes out the window the moment you raise a machete over your head in a threatening manner.
Yes, a machete. Neptune Beach, Florida police say they arrested 18-year-old Caleb Williams waving that 18-inch blade. Police allege he was threatening Democratic voters walking into an early voting site.
Mr. Williams decided to brandish that machete over his head at two female victims, ages 71 and 54 years of age, which were in fear at that point, had called the police, and we arrived less than 1 minute later.
This is Mr. Williams' mugshot. He's been charged with aggravated assault and improper exhibition of a weapon. Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Grad who wrote, "That looks like the enemy within to me, a little blonde coward threatening women. Shameful maggot behavior." I agree. I look forward to reading your comments about MAGA faithful going crazy as Allan Lichtman and others keep saying Kamala Harris is going to win. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.